Okay, as I said, this problem over here, I thought it was an interesting question. Certainly, I present it to you for you to solve by paper and pencil technique, and then certainly I post a video. Hopefully, you watch through that video before you watch this video. But it's me doing the problem by hand, and certainly, I'm not gonna play it. Of course, if you want to play it, you can. I send you both links, by the way. But what a lot of people do when they see a video, they kind of scroll through it and they're really not interested in the video itself. What they're interested in the outcome. And certainly when you look at YouTube statistics, what you notice is a lot of people are they're certainly engaged with YouTube. It's very popular. But you notice that videos tend to have a drop off. What is someone watched it for 30 seconds and then either stops watching it or they skip forward to the end of the video. And we understand why that. In some videos, actually, they publish, they tell you where to skip forward to. They give you the time code on it. But certainly if you skip forward in this one over here, eventually at the end of it, I put it in a box for you. I tell the answer is x equals pi over 2 times k, with the understanding that k is some integer. All right, so we got to that, and then I said I was going to go to software to figure out if that's actually if that's actually true. So I'm going to say I'm going to verify this using software. So what I want to do is go back to the actual problem itself, because you may not remember the actual problem. I'm going backwards in the video now. Whoops, and I'm going to go here. And what I did was I'm using software. And using software, what I did was I plotted out, and you may wonder what I'm plotting out. I'm actually not plotting this out. I'm plotting out, 2 to the sine squared x plus 2 to the cosine squared x minus 3, and I'm really looking for the zeros. And that's what you really did in Math 119. Whoops, sorry about this. Let me pull this up. So in 119, certainly you're looking for the zeros. I'm clearly seeing them over here. I see one here, I see one here, and I see one over here. And certainly if you want to long this, it's a trigonometric function, it's going to be periodic. All right? So what am I noticing? Just looking at it, again, when I say I'm looking at numbers here, 0, 0.5 pi is actually pi over 2. This is 2 pi over 2. This is 3 pi over 2. This is 4 pi over 2. So what am I verifying? I'm verifying that the answer I got over here is in fact true, and I'm doing that visually. Now, I want to sort of give you a little warning over here that a lot of certainly I speak to teachers all over the place, but I notice teachers at Essex in particular are adverse to using software, all right? I'm of the opposite opinion. I think you should be actually, I think you should do things by hand, but I also think that you start to see is that there's a whole other universe out there when you start using tools that go beyond paper and pencil. Paper and pencil is important though. I'm not discounting it, and I'm not saying those teachers that are saying don't go near software or use of electronic devices, but I really think that paper and pencil, you should start augmenting it, getting your feet wet, so to speak, in using software. Now someone says, what software are you using over here? I'm using Grapher. But if you like, I'll go to the web for a second. And let me just do that. I'll open up a web browser. And I'm going to go to Wolfram Alpha. And I got to be honest with you, if you were typing this in and say solve, to me it's actually harder to type in than it is to do it by hand. That was 2 to the sine. And I'll write that over here. Sine, x, quantity squared, plus, let's see, that was 2. And let's see if Wolfram can do it. By the way, I haven't tried this yet. Cosine x, quantity squared, equals the number 3 for x. All right? So I'm asking, just like I'd ask Google to do something, and Wolfram's going to put the little blinky lights on, and oh, wow, look at that. They actually solved it for me. And what did they say? X equals pi over 2 times n, where n is some integer. We're using k. I'm not sure what your text is using or any text. Traditionally, n should be used. Some people use k, some people use j. I always say there's a controversy when people use I. But Wolfram was able to do it. I can also say graph. Let me put this down over here, graph, G-R-A-P-H. And what I'm going to do is graph, y equals, and I want to look for the zeros. So I'll put this over here, and I want to visualize it. I'm just typing this in. I'm using software, and that's y equals that. And I want to see if it can do it, see what it looks like. And certainly I'm seeing it. What I'm not seeing is I'm not clearly seeing what these numbers are. And this is what Wolfram's going to try to sell you something. And certainly it's a great product. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm an advocate of using Sage. All right, so I'm going to launch Sage for you. And just give me 1 second to do so. I got to go to my applications folder. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to do applications. Just give me 1 second. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, it's right there. I'm dizzy. Let me go to Skype. It's not Skype, but to Sage. I'm going to launch the terminal. I want to point out that I'm not saying anything bad about Sage, but sometimes it does things that are kind of wacky. Reason being is that I don't have that skill set, but solve. And let me write this down over here. And I'm going to do copy paste. I'm going to copy paste this business over here. By the way, X is already built in, equals 3H software X, and see what happens. I don't know. Let's see what happens. You know what Sage puts back to me? It says it can't do it. All right. So there's a good example of using Sage. And by the way, it can't do it because maybe I don't know how to use Sage properly, and that's always true. What's the advantage of using Wolfram Alpha though? It really is natural. I mean, it really is. Even typing things in is somewhat more natural than doing Sage. Anyway, thank you so much for paying attention. I appreciate it.